The opening nightmare. The movie begins with a haunting dream sequence. Van Helsing stands in medieval armor on a battlefield, leading holy crusaders into combat. The sky turns blood red, and his body begins to twist. His eyes turn feral, claws sprout, and his soldiers recoil in horror. He tears them apart in a blind frenzy before seeing his own reflection in a pool of blood. Half man, half wolf. He awakens in his chamber in Rome, sweating, and discovers claw marks on his arms that were not there before. This foreshadows that his curse is resurfacing and his past is not as buried as he believed. Van Helsing travels to Vatican City after being summoned by Cardinal Genet. The Holy Order is in turmoil. Entire villages in Eastern Europe have been slaughtered, their blood drained. Survivors whisper of a new vampire overlord. Genet tells Van Helsing that Dracula's death did not end the vampire threat. In fact, something far older and more dangerous is rising. Van Helsing accepts the mission, not just out of duty, but because he senses the nightmares are connected to it. While at the Vatican archives, Van Helsing is presented with a sealed letter from the late Princess Anna Valerius, written before her death. In it, Anna warns that Dracula's destruction was only the beginning, that his bloodline carried on in secret, waiting for resurrection. She pleads with Van Helsing to end the curse once and for all. The letter fuels his determination, but also rekindles his grief and guilt over her death in the first film. Carl, Van Helsing's faithful but cowardly friar ally, insists on joining him again. He brings with him a collection of experimental holy weapons, silver grenades, a crucifix whip, sunlight-charged crossbow bolts, and a portable holy water sprayer. Their banter provides comic relief, but Carl's knowledge and inventions are crucial. Van Helsing reluctantly agrees to bring him, realizing he'll need all the help he can get. In their research, Van Helsing and Carl uncover the truth. Dracula had a daughter, Countess Lilith, who was hidden away by loyal followers. Unlike her father, she is cunning, calculating, and deeply devoted to dark sorcery. Lilith has been building a cult of vampires who believe she will merge the mortal and immortal realms. This makes her even more dangerous than Dracula. She doesn't just want domination, she wants transformation of the entire world. The heroes arrive in a Transylvanian village on the edge of the Carpathian Mountains. The place is a ghost town at night. Families hide indoors, garlic and crucifixes hanging from every door. The village elder warns Van Helsing of a prophecy about a man with no past who will decide the fate of both humans and monsters. The villagers see Van Helsing as cursed and fear he might be that man. Despite their fear, they beg him for help as more villagers are taken nightly by Lilith's forces. In the nearby forests, Van Helsing and Carl are ambushed by a pack of werewolves. During the fight, one of the beasts bites Van Helsing. Though he was once cured of lycanthropy, the bite reawakens his dormant curse. His body begins to partially transform during battle. His eyes glow, claws emerge, and he rips through the werewolves with terrifying ease. Afterward, Carl sees the changes in him and grows deeply concerned. Van Helsing brushes it off, but inside he fears he is losing control. Just as the werewolves nearly overwhelm them, a mysterious woman intervenes, wielding dual silver blades and unmatched agility. She introduces herself as Celine, a vampire huntress whose family was slaughtered by Lilith's coven. Though wary of Van Helsing, she can sense his curse. She agrees to guide them deeper into the Carpathians. Her stoic, no-nonsense personality clashes with Van Helsing's grim resolve, creating tension but also mutual respect. Cutting away to Lilith's lair, we see her performing a dark ritual. Suspended in a pool of enchanted blood are the skeletal remains of Dracula. Using the blood of captured villagers, she whispers incantations that begin restoring fragments of her father's essence. Her plan is not to resurrect him entirely, but to fuse his soul with her own, becoming the ultimate vampire hybrid. Her followers kneel, hailing her as the true heir of darkness. Van Helsing, Carl, and Celine uncover an underground monastery where forbidden texts are hidden. Among the scrolls, they find writings about the first hunter, a man cursed with immortality after killing a fallen angel during the earliest days of the church. Van Helsing reads further and realizes with horror that these scrolls describe him. His forgotten past was erased by the Vatican, but now the truth is clear. He has lived countless lifetimes, always fighting monsters, never aging. His curse of immortality and transformation is the very thing Lilith seeks. Celine reveals that she knew of the prophecy and suspected Van Helsing's true identity. She believes he is the key to Lilith's plan, and though she considers killing him, she decides to use him as bait instead, believing his destiny is tied to the end of the bloodline. This revelation fractures their fragile alliance, and Van Helsing feels more alone than ever. The trio infiltrates Lilith's mountain fortress. They battle through vampire knights, grotesque gargoyle-like guardians, and swarms of feral vampire spawn. The action sequence is chaotic. Holy weapons clash with dark sorcery. In the heat of battle, Van Helsing loses control, transforming into his wolf form and tearing enemies apart savagely. Carl and Celine look on in horror, questioning whether he is still human. They reach the central chamber, where Dracula's skeletal remains are suspended in magical chains of blood. Lilith reveals that she has already stolen Van Helsing's blood during one of their earlier skirmishes. By combining it with Dracula's essence, she fuses his immortal power into herself, becoming a hybrid vampire queen. Faster, stronger, and deadlier than any vampire before. Lilith's completed ritual plunges the land into eternal night. An unnatural eclipse covers the skies, granting vampires the freedom to move openly across Europe. Entire cities fall under attack. Armies of vampires swarm cathedrals, castles, and towns. The Vatican realizes their defenses are failing. For the first time in history, humanity is on the brink of being overrun. Van Helsing nearly gives in to his wolf side completely. He isolates himself, fearing he will kill Carl and Celine if he stays close. Carl confronts him, saying, "Maybe you are cursed. Maybe you are a monster, but you still fight for us. That choice is what makes you human." These words ground Van Helsing, giving him the will to master his curse rather than be consumed by it. Lilith, now in her full hybrid form, confronts Van Helsing. She mocks him, calling him brother of the cursed and claiming they are the same, immortal killers feared by mankind. Their duel begins with an intense exchange of strength and sorcery. Lilith easily overpowers him at first, but Van Helsing refuses to give in, using both his human cunning and beastly power against her. During the battle, Celine sacrifices herself to weaken Lilith. She drives a holy spear into Lilith's chest, buying Van Helsing a critical opening. Lilith kills her brutally in retaliation, enraging Van Helsing. This loss cuts deeply, reminding him of Anna's death and fueling his determination to end the bloodline once and for all. Accepting his curse, Van Helsing fully transforms into his wolf form. But unlike before, he maintains complete control. Now a fusion of man and beast, he battles Lilith in a ferocious showdown across the crumbling fortress. The fight is brutal, filled with claws, fangs, fire, and holy weapons clashing against dark magic. In the climax, Van Helsing uses Carl's sunlight-charged crossbow bolts to pierce Lilith's heart. As the energy ignites, sunlight bursts through the eclipse, burning Lilith from the inside out. She screams as Dracula's essence is destroyed with her. The fortress collapses, and the bloodline of Dracula is finally broken. The world is saved, but at tremendous cost. After the battle, Van Helsing and Carl return to Rome. The Cardinal offers Van Helsing peace, even a chance to have his curse lifted. But Van Helsing refuses. Knowing his destiny as the first hunter means he must always walk the path of the damned. He rides off into the night on horseback, disappearing into the shadows. The final scene reveals a chilling vision, a dark figure with angelic wings watching him from a distance, hinting at an even greater enemy in Van Helsing 3.